I don't know if you've heard, but the Consulting Code is gearing up to launch again. And if you're wondering what the Consulting Code is, it is a course designed with a simple focus to help you establish your solo consulting practice and provide the necessary tools to land your initial clients. In this program, you'll learn how to create a desirable offer, generate leads for that offer, and make sales, which we all know is what we need. So if you're interested in this upcoming launch, click the link in the description to join the waitlist and be the first to know when it goes live. There's a misconception that we don't exist, that somehow our ability to excel at the highest level of our industry is limited, that overcoming barriers as a woman of color would be insurmountable. But what would happen if we decided to venture out on our own despite everything we're up against? I'll tell you. Welcome to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Angelina Davis, a healthcare consultant, consulting coach, high performance fanatic, wife, and proud girl mom. I help transform female professionals into thriving solo consultants. And just like you, I'm wearing all the hats and doing all the things. So this podcast is to empower the busy female professionals to move past fear to start and grow a successful consulting business, despite the obstacles you may encounter. We'll dive deep into consulting practice, business strategy, mindset, and more. So grab your cup of coffee or tea if that's your thing, and let's get started. Hello. Welcome to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Angelina Davis, and today I hope to offer you a little bit of calm and insight so that you can feel more stable and confident in your business. Because I think often we are finding ourselves searching for clients. We don't know where clients will come from. We're unsure whether or not we're saying the right things to lead them to our front door. And we are unsure whether or not we can truly make our consulting business as successful as we desire. Yes, we may have landed a few clients here or there, but I know if you're listening to this podcast, you are trying to make a huge impact and you're trying to grow tremendously. So today's conversation, we're going to talk about how you can do just that. And one of the reasons why I decided to talk about this is because I was on LinkedIn recently leaving feedback. There is, I don't know if you know this, but there's a new functionality on the LinkedIn platform that actually allows you as an expert to leave your feedback or maybe examples and additional insights on a number of key articles. So the article that I was thinking about, or responding to rather, was one that was focused on the whole aspect of how you're able to follow your intuition and creativity, and also do so in a way that honors the reality of the data that you're seeing as a result, meaning that you don't get caught up in your emotions and you are making decisions based upon what you are finding objectively to be the case. And I thought about the fact that oftentimes the most common question I get is, how can I find more leads? How can I land more clients? And I feel as if we're often in this panic mode, searching for magical clients to fall out of the clouds. And it's because we don't have the reassurance, the data, the support, the objective evidence to let us know that we are on the right track and we're going down the right path. And there is one tool that will help you do that. But I feel like this is a very underutilized tool, especially for solo consultants and even those that may have a small firm or a boutique agency. And mainly it's because we believe that we need a big, massive sales team in order for this to matter. But if you haven't figured out what I'm talking about already, I am talking about your sales pipeline. This is the process that you're using to guide someone from prospect to client and all of the actions that you're taking to move them through their client journey. When you have an effective sales pipeline, you're able to guide your clients through this process in a more intentional way that will increase the likelihood that they will convert and become clients of yours, where you're able to collaborate and make a greater impact by working together. But when you don't have this pipeline established, you're kind of haphazardly interacting with potential clients, because without this tool, you don't know whether or not you are effectively moving them along this pathway and contributing to their journey so that they're able to move through their stages of awareness and take the next step and the next step and the next step to get to the point of sale. So when we are able to maximize the use of our sales pipeline and we know how to interact with it most effectively, then that is going to also give you confidence, because you're going to know if you're on track to meet your financial goal. And that is what gives you this level of confidence and security around your finances, as well as the profitability of your business and your ability to succeed and last over the long term. So I want to talk in this episode about how we can better utilize the sales pipeline and build a more effective sales pipeline for you to be able to do this. And this is a core part of this consulting code, which is we're currently in the founder circle right now, and we've entered into the sales module, and we've been talking about how this impacts your results. And I do believe that if you are able to focus in on how you move people through the process, you're going to be a lot more successful than being haphazard about doing so. So first, to start off, let's just take it back a little bit and talk about the structure of a sales pipeline and why it's important, because I really want you to get this part down so that you understand how it's going to help you. Because if you don't get this part, then it's going to be very difficult for you to visualize and kind of see how you can fit this into your world. So most often we hear sales pipeline and sales funnel used interchangeably. And it's because it's speaking to the same process, which is navigating through the client journey or the buyer's journey, but it's looking at it from two different perspectives. So if you're thinking about a sales funnel, the sales funnel is looking at the visual representation of how buyers move through the process of decision making in order to make a purchase. And when we're looking at the sales funnel, it is actually from the customer or the client or the buyer's perspective. But the sales pipeline is somewhat different, because the sales pipeline is actually visualizing the same exact journey, but from the consultant's or the salesperson's perspective. So you're looking at the same journey, but visualizing it two different ways. Both are extremely important. But when we're thinking about the sales pipeline, what stands out so much about this process and using this way of thinking when you're approaching sales is the fact that you're focused on the steps that you're taking. Because one thing that you have, I won't necessarily say no control over, but you have less control over when it comes to the sales funnel is being able to prevent loss. So the sales funnel looks as it does because as you move from the top of funnel to the bottom of funnel, you're going to narrow at each level, and you're going to lose people along the way, intentionally so, in order to get to those who are most qualified, aware, and aligned with your offer. You have some control over that, meaning that you want to create a funnel that doesn't have a lot of leaks in it. But at the end of the day, that side, that view is up to the buyer or the client, the potential client. When you're looking at the sales pipeline, however, you have the ability to change your actions. And so at every step of the sales pipeline, you can adjust, adapt, modify, optimize, improve so that you're able to maximize each stage in hopes that you get more people to this bottom of funnel, bottom level, bottom of your pipeline, so that they're able to make a decision to work with you. And why the pipeline is so important is because unlike the sales funnel, which oftentimes is a larger scalable way of thinking about the buyer or client journey, the sales pipeline is going to get to the details. So when you create your sales pipeline, you know exactly who is in the pipeline, you know who is on this journey, you know where they are, what stage they're at, how they are navigating your ecosystem and your world. That makes a huge difference because instead of you trying to guess where people are or how many people you actually may have interested in your business, you have your eye on a number of individuals that have already clearly raised their hand to express their interest because in this case, I'm talking about more of an inbound marketing strategy, but it definitely does apply also with outbound. But with the inbound marketing strategy, they've already raised their hand. They've already said they're interested. They've entered your world and your ecosystem. So you know that there is potential to get them to that finish line. Now you can actually be more intentional of interacting with them so that you grow to build a relationship and establish trust that gets them there. When you're just solely visualizing this process through the sales funnel, you don't know who's there and you don't exactly know how to show up effectively so that you move them more intentionally through the process. And this is important, especially in consulting, which is a little bit different than if you had, for instance, an online course, or if you were offering some other type of larger service that you could scale and you're playing more of a numbers game. Typically in consulting, we are focused on larger contracts. We're focused on more intimate engagements. And so those numbers, that massive volume may not necessarily be there in terms of the traffic that you're bringing in. So you have to focus on the quality of the relationships that you're building in order to get you to your goal. So this is one of the reasons why the sales pipeline is helpful. And this is not just my opinion. Studies actually show that an effective sales pipeline can actually increase business growth by 15%. And that's on average. So on average, 15%. But if you actually master this process, then you can see a 28% higher revenue growth. That's substantial because what that means is that if you simply had just a formal process, if you formalize this process, then the $10,000 you made will actually be $11,500. So you've already had this increase simply by just formalizing this process. But when you master it, then that is going to translate in even more, right? So you're increasing your ability to generate revenue by simply just having this process established and being more intentional with the interactions that you're making. A thriving consulting business is built on a solid business foundation and a consulting code that leads you toward your ideal business and your ideal lifestyle. And the great thing about this code is that it works for any type of consulting practice, whether you help clients with professional development, business management, grant writing, IT, or something entirely different. This consulting code is not rocket science and is not beyond your reach. And when you crack the code, it can jumpstart the growth of your solo consulting practice and is what you need to know to get started and land your first clients and nothing more. This is a step-by-step process I wish I had so many years ago. And that's why I wanted to share this with you and how you can do this too. So if you're interested in starting your consulting business and creating a desirable offer to generate leads for your offer and to make sales, then the consulting code is your solution. Visit www.excelatconsulting.com for more information. So typically when we think about a sales pipeline, there is often 7 clear stages that most will refer to as being part of the sales pipeline when you're developing one. And this is not set in stone. You can adapt this process to meet your needs. But the more important thing to remember is that building the sales pipeline needs to match the client or buyer's journey. So you want to make sure that each level, each stage does match and align with the typical journey that your potential client will have as they're going through the process of making the decision, moving from prospect to client and deciding to work with you. So you want these things to align. However, there are 7 stages that most will refer to, and those include prospecting, lead qualification, your meeting or a demo if you have something that you need to demo if you're working, for instance, in the IT space and some others, the proposal, negotiation and getting the commitment, opportunity being one, so the conversion process, and then post-purchase. So those are the typical, I would say, 7 main stages that are included in a full, complete sales pipeline. But I want us to focus in heavily on, I would say, the first 5, because the first 5 really do get you to that point of sale. And those include prospecting, lead qualification, your meeting or demo, proposal, and then the negotiation and commitment. Those 5 of the 7 are going to be essential for you to nail and to map out, because this is where a lot of your work and effort needs to go to ensure that you're getting more and more people to the end step. And I want to really highlight some things that you want to ensure are in place when you are building this out, because I think that when we overlook the fact that we need to have people at various stages so that we continue to have what we like to call a flow in your pipeline, then it's hard for us to be able to predict what our finances are going to look like when we don't have this all mapped out and we don't see this flow. We can't predict what the typical cycle is going to be in terms of our sales cycle and how long it takes to get a prospect to this end step. We want to begin to gauge all of that so we can create the predictability in our business and be able to forecast the revenue and the income that we want to generate. So the predictability and the ability to forecast is going to give you that confidence. It's going to give you that reassurance. It's going to allow you to plan for the future and to think about how you're going to continue to grow and to move. Like, for instance, if you want to bring on a team or bring on additional help or expand into an agency or a larger boutique firm, then you are going to need this data. You don't want to go just simply on how you feel. You want to know that you have a pipeline that is sufficient so that you can sustain yourself for an extended period of time. And I think that's one of the things we often miss. And we decide because we had, for instance, a very lucrative contract at one point, and we think that that's going to continue to be the case and last forever. But if you don't have the pipeline established to bring in that similar type work, then what you'll find is that after that engagement ends, you're out there searching for someone else again. And that cycle takes longer and longer if you don't know what it should look like and you don't know what to look for and how to shorten the window. Because that's the other part of this, is that when you have this process mapped out, you'll know what you need to do in order to get people to the endpoint a lot faster and to move them more swiftly through the stages of awareness and get them to the point of decision making. So when we think about what we need, there are a few things that I like to highlight. And one is that you want to be able to establish your leads through multiple sources. This is one of the reasons why I don't recommend just relying solely on referrals. Because if your referrals dry up, and that can happen when the referrals have not been established in a very intentional and I would say diverse way, then you may be relying on referrals from one particular industry. And if that industry takes a hit, for instance, from the economy or anything else, then also your revenue generation takes a hit. Your ability to sustain your business takes a hit. And so it's important that you have this diversity in your lead sources so that you don't have to rely solely on one source. And you can actually be able to generate business from various sources that is going to help you be more flexible and able to adapt to anything that may come in terms of challenges or obstacles. So when we're thinking about the sales pipeline, and we're focusing on this whole initial aspect of prospecting as well as lead generation, this is where that is becoming important. The fact that you want to begin to do inbound prospecting and develop lead generation methods that tap into different sources. And also, this is going to require you to do 2 things. You got to increase your visibility and you have to have strategic messaging. So you have to be visible. People have to find you because you can't get people to enter into your ecosystem if they don't know you exist. And your messaging has to be more strategic, because what you want to do is actually find those who are truly aligned and qualified with your offer. That's going to help you when it comes to the whole aspect of not just bringing in leads and attracting leads to your business, but also qualifying those leads. Figuring out exactly what needs to happen, what you need to say, what messages need to be created so that you ensure that the people that are showing up and that you're including in your lead pool are representative of those who would take you up on your offer. And for instance, if you're just solely looking at this process through a sales funnel, you don't really know those details. You don't know those specifics. And the great part about focusing on your pipeline is that you can actually begin to clearly qualify these prospects and potential leads or these leads before they even get further down your pipeline. So you're not holding on and counting somebody as a possibility to be a client of yours, and they are not even qualified to work with you. It helps you to save that time and energy and begin to refer them to someone else who actually may be better suited to meet their needs, or to somehow think about how you may serve them in the future. So one of the things that this is going to help you do is to tackle these first two stages of that sales pipeline and really improve the quality of the leads that you're getting, as well as focusing on the numbers, because you'll know that you need a certain number at this stage or at this phase in order for you to reach the revenue goals that you have in the end. And if you have no one in your pipeline, or if you have too few in your pipeline, then your likelihood of reaching your goal is going to be low. So it's very helpful to help you predict that. Then when you're thinking about moving forward and getting to this point of getting to a meeting, you have to do work before you get there. So the consistent and effective marketing that you're doing, as well as genuine lead nurturing, meaning that you are not just marketing and selling and promoting a message, but you're also spending this time truly getting to know the leads that are entering into your world. Because if you are better acquainted with them individually and you're really getting to know how they live their lives, what their desires may be, what their goals are, what their business looks like, what goals they have and mission that they have for their organization. If you know those things, then at the end of the day, when you get to sales, it's going to be much easier for the mere fact that sales is a human to human interaction. So the better you are at communicating with that individual, the more likely you're going to be successful in the end. And that's something that we can actually be more intentional about. We can show up in a way that is going to provide more help, more value, more support early on if we better understand their problems, if we better understand their needs. And being more intentional about that process instead of just looking at it on a very general, broad level and speaking directly to these people that are showing up who are right in front of your face, then that's going to make a difference. And I always like to highlight this is when we're searching for clients often, and we don't know where the next client is going to come from, I like to remind, my clients in particular, that they're likely right in front of your face. But it's because you're not focusing on these kind of more intentional efforts that you don't really know they exist. And I see this time and time again where people start a particular marketing process, or they may increase their visibility. They're doing these things that they know will be helpful, but because they have not identified individuals that fall into these categories, fall into these stages along their pipeline, they're kind of speaking out into the open. And because they might not necessarily see or hear a response right away, they believe, falsely so, that those particular potential clients don't exist. And so then they stop. And what happens when you stop in those instances is that person that was watching you all along, that was trying to see whether or not you're going to be a good fit, that you were nurturing through your content, they walk away and leave, and they figure, whew, I am so glad. I'm so glad I didn't make that mistake, right? That's what they're thinking because they're watching your actions. And I always like to say actions speak louder than words. That old saying is forever true. It really is. But one of the things is that we want to be just more intentional about this whole concept that those people are in your world. They're in your ecosystem. You're already calling them in. The pipeline is just going to help you identify them more directly. And then the last thing is that when you have a sales pipeline, you have to have a formal sales process. So you don't want to just get to the point at which the person is interested and you're unclear of what the next step is that they need to take. Each stage of your pipeline is a way for you to show up and provide value that is consistent with where your prospect or potential client is along their journey. So if they're just starting out and you've attracted them and drawn them in through a meeting that you've been to, a referral, or even a lead magnet, however they've entered into your world and they've moved through that initial contact point and you're trying to determine and qualify whether or not they would be a good fit, you can intentionally figure out what types of interactions that you want to create that fit within your personality and lifestyle, as well as the needs of your business or your company, and intentionally move more and more people to the next stage of your pipeline journey. This piece is going to help you feel like you have more control over the process. One of the most frustrating things, especially when you're starting out in the early years of consulting, is the fact that you feel like you don't have much control. You feel sometimes as if your business is in the hands of everyone else. And one of the things that I like to focus on is so deeply embedded in my mission is the fact that I want you to feel empowered in your business. I want you to know that you have control over the outcome, that you don't have to sit back and wait for someone to send you referrals. You don't have to sit back and wait for someone to approve your proposal when you're submitting a response to a request for a proposal, that you can actually do this yourself. So I really do feel strongly that the sales pipeline helps you to do this. It is that objective, concrete evidence that you have people that are interested in what you offer, and you have the ability to enhance the interactions that you have with them more intentionally to get them to that end result. And when you do this, this is going to give you more comfort in the process. It's going to help you understand the process better. It's going to shorten that sales cycle so that you move through the process more swiftly. And it's going to increase the likelihood of people actually converting. So especially when we're in consulting, we're starting with smaller numbers. We're not starting with tens of thousands of leads typically. In most cases, we're starting with smaller numbers. We're working in very specialized areas. And we have to be very intentional in creating the relationships and the human interactions and the connections that we want to create so that we can land the business that's going to allow us to achieve our 6-figure, 7-figure and on goals. So this is part of the puzzle. And when you master this part, when you get better at this part, it is going to give you the confidence to know that you're on stable and solid ground. And if you aren't, you know what to do. You're going to know where you need to make a change, what you need to fix. If you're getting to the point in your pipeline where maybe you're bringing in a lot of leads, but those leads aren't qualified, then you're going to go back to the step that was previous or prior to that and adjust that particular stage and the work that you're doing at that stage so that by the time that you get to lead qualification, the prospecting that you did, the process that you used for the prospecting, which was the stage prior to that, is going to be more effective in generating leads that are qualified, because those individuals that you're bringing in are going to be more likely to meet your qualification criteria. That is part of how this works. It's helping you to improve each step along the way so that you have better success as you move forward. If you get to the stage of negotiation and you're finding that you're falling flat when it comes to the negotiation process and maybe you're losing opportunities there, well, then you want to go back to the step before, maybe 1 or 2 steps before, and focus on your meeting and the proposal that you're submitting. All of these things can be adjusted. You can adapt, you can modify, you can optimize so that you get better and better results. So I hope that I have hopefully convince someone of the importance of using your sales pipeline to your advantage and really creating this process for yourself, being able to monitor it and track it. Don't become obsessed with it, but be mindful of how you are intentionally interacting at each stage so that you're able to move people through and that you're able to track their progress more closely and seamlessly. There's a reason why we have CRMs. We have them because they support this process. And what I found is that often when we're starting out, and definitely when we're working by ourselves, we may overlook the importance of this. And one of the reasons why larger firms and consulting groups are successful is because they do prioritize this piece of the sales pipeline and sales process. So if you want to learn more about this, I teach this stuff in the consulting code. So I want you to definitely, consider that, because that is one way to kind of get into the nitty gritty and learn a little bit more about this. But at the end of the day, figure out how you can intentionally show up and move people through these stages of awareness in their buyer's journey so that you can get better results. I know that if you do this, I can guarantee, just like the data has shown, that you're going to get better outcomes, you're going to make more sales, and you're going to make more money. All right. So listen, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it with a friend. I'm always wanting you to spread the word because it helps more and more women enter into this world of consulting, build successful businesses as consultants, and stand the test of time, because we need that representation. We need that diversity. We need you out there. Sharing that with a friend and leaving your review on Apple Podcasts or your rating on Spotify is just super helpful for doing that. And as always, don't forget, reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I love having these conversations with you. We have some episodes that are coming up that are going to continue to talk about this whole process of shifting into consulting or starting your business or growing it further, and really thinking about how you can more effectively do this, even if you have your 9-to-5. That's kind of the focus and the theme of these episodes as we move forward. But I want you to definitely tune in to ones that are upcoming. And so I hope I see you again very, very soon. All right, guys, take care. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to leave your review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and share it with a friend. We're on a mission to increase the success and longevity of women in consulting, and you can help us do that. Also, I'd love to hear from you, so let's connect at Dr. Angelina Davis on Instagram or LinkedIn. And don't forget to visit excelatconsulting.com for more information to support your consulting journey. Until next time, take care.